ever since his release video was, well, released, I have loved this hero. He is the most unique in his class, in my opinion, and has an incredibly high skill cap. Of course, we are talking about GRIM.exe or GRIM.exe, and you know what? I love him. Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a hero building guide. I am Sylphin. Of course, we start off by taking a look at their numbers, and since GRIM.exe is a ranged carry, he's all about his basic attack, and that's mainly what we're going to look at here with some of his mana costs because they are important to pay attention to. So his basic attack here is quite good, and it will surprise you if you aren't really if you aren't familiar with the math and the stats behind these heroes. So at 0.92 power scaling, he isn't the highest. With one power scaling like Murdoch and Sparrow, he isn't the highest, but his increase per level is on the high side at 77.4. But his basic attack cooldown is normal at 1.2, but he gains 2.8 attack speed per hero level, making him very much a hyper carry. A hyper carry is one that scales way into the late game, like literally hero level 14 and 15 with those last 5, even 3 CP, finally getting to 60 CP full on build. That is when, and only then, is when it really kicks in. They just kind of boom, all of a sudden become incredibly powerful. So hero level 15 has 139.2. He gains 39.2 attack speed just by hero level. So that in with the rest of his kit here makes him a hyper carry, and you'll see that in the math. He is on par, actually better than Sparrow. So we take a look at his other abilities. His Deflector Shield, a key ability for Grim, something that really no other carry can touch, besides maybe Yin with her knockback, is 25 mana cost on 10-second cooldown, returns 70% mana when you deflect an ability. Obviously, that's absolutely astronomically important. It's huge. 25 mana, use it as much as possible. Of course, saving it for those very key things, but 25 mana, use it. Don't be afraid to use it. His Displacement Blast actually gets a fairly significant amount of damage. It's actually surprising. 210 with 0.5 power scaling means it'll be about, what is that? 275 damage in the late game, 300 damage in the late game, somewhere around there. It's actually fairly significant. Don't it's relevant, so just keep that in mind, especially at 120 mana cost. It's a little bit high, but it is a displacement, so it's very, very key with a 9-second cooldown. He is his suppression mode that gives your basic attack a slow 30 mana cost. You can't spam this ability. Use it sparingly, really, to secure a couple more last hits, and then that's really where it shines. So in the late game, very, very, very strong. In the early game, it's more of a utility for the rest of your team. His ultimate is GTFO, a locked on orb that goes flying towards the enemy. Don't use it on a Yin. And 1.1 power scaling means that it does an okay amount of damage. It's not like crazy. It's not going to take somebody half health to zero, depending on the hero, I suppose, and how much power you get. It's 360 damage, so it's fairly significant. At a 70-second cooldown, you can use it in pretty much every skirmish. Don't really need to save it for a team fight, as team fights probably every 2 minutes or something like that. So you can use it. 75 mana. It's really low. So you know what? Again, for Grim, don't be afraid to use his abilities, just simply because of their mana cost, but they are very important. So you kind of have to balance between the mana cost being low, so and the cooldowns being fairly low as well. But you do need to save it because they are very important. Now, the rest of him, he is a carry, so he's squishy as all hell with 30 ability armor, 46 basic armor, which is actually really good, but we only have 1,371 health. He's super squishy. But really, guys, the takeaway from this is that he gains a ton of attack speed per hero level, his basic attack, that makes it very, very strong. when we come over here to my optimal DPS calculator and stat optimizer, where the link is in the video description for you guys to go and check out as well, we can see that he is indeed a hyper carry and has the highest DPS of all ranged heroes in the game. Not including Sparrow's passive, which is situational, but I mean, once you include Sparrow's passive, she surpasses Grim. But Grim, just like his base kit, he has the highest range DPS. As we can do a quick little comparison here at 53 CP of value, we go down to Sparrow here at 744 DPS, Sparrow 734. Obviously, her passive kicks that up to beyond Grim, but you know, it is situational. It's fairly reliable, but just saying, Grim does, at least on base kit, have the highest range DPS. Now, when we go to 53 CP of total value in damage, attack speed, and crit without that crit bonus, we can see how the distribution between power penetration, attack speed, and critical strike chance is. You can see a lot of power, 22 power penetration, not much attack speed, only 11, because he gains so much per hero level, 2.8, and 20% or 20 critical strike chance, which means 80% crit chance. So you can see 11 attack speed is still a lot. 11. That is almost a whirling wand with all 3-point kinetic upgrades. That would be 12 points of attack speed. This is, well, it's a wind carver blade with a 4.33, but can't really do that on Grim. So that's why we only get 10 in the build. This is the build that you are about to see. In coming up here, actually, I actually changed this to optimize this to 23 power, 10 attack speed, and 20 critical strike chance. So it's 80% crit chance with 10 attack speed. Yes, Grim is more of a little bit of an overtime DPS carry. He takes a little bit more time as his basic attack, again, doesn't have the highest power scaling, but his DPS is just over time. So with that slow, with his shield, it kind of helps him remain as a sustained presence on the battlefield. So that is the build that you're about to see. That is the amount of stats. As you can see, a little bit less attack speed, put it into power. And that is A-okay by me. 744 DPS. Crazy. If we go down here, we can see how slotting in CP into the various stats here, power being blue, attack speed being red, crit being green, you know, in relation to the total CP value in your whole deck that you have, you can see that power and crit chance is very, very valuable, as you want that a lot. But again, this crit does have the 100% bonus, so you're not going to get that bonus right until fairly later on in the late mid game, you're going to get it. So unfortunately, you just have to go into power for quite a bit, into 20 CP, right, into about 20 CP before attack speed really works. This is counting crit, so if we come over here, you can see that again, attack speed you really don't need until way up there, and then it is optimal to build attack speed. So basically, the takeaway from this: power and crit very, very, very strong on Grim, with a little bit of attack speed to boost that that power and crit that you're doing. If we slide down to here, this is the crazy part of this calculator, is that this is the exact amount of CP's worth of power, for example, you want at hero level 7 if you have 15 total CP available to you. That's exactly the amount of power you want at that moment, no more, no less, to get the optimal DPS at that moment. So that's a crazy part. So basically, this is telling you exactly what to do at every hero level, at every moment. This is telling you exactly what you want to do in optimal DPS. For this one is attack speed. So if you're hero level 8 with 27 total CP in your build, you want 4 into attack speed. I think you get the point here. You know, crit if you're level 12 with 38 into, you know, a 38 CP total in you know, available to you at the moment, and you just have 38 CP and you're hero level 12, you want 14 into crit chance, but you need to add on that crit bonus, so you have to add kind of 5 onto here. So really you're at, what is that, 43 with 5 into the crit bonus, and then 14 into that. So that's a crazy part of this. That's the magic of this calculator, is it's basically telling you exactly what you want. Just in the early game, This isn't going, you're not going to have the crit bonus, so this is basically incorrect. There you guys go. You can see Grim, the highest ranged DPS, at least in his base kit, again, with Sparrow adding in her passive. Of course, she does more damage. He is a hyper carry. Not very many people know that. If you can get to that 60 CP, if you can get to the 55, 60 CP, then Grim, boom, totally starts annihilating. As actually, if we change this, you can actually start to see that. You can see that at 45, it's only 593 plus. With his affinities, it makes him, it actually makes him quite difficult to transition into the appropriate amounts of crit, power, and attack speed in the late game. It makes it really difficult. Just due to his affinities. So he really kicks it up once you get to that 55, 60 CP. So that is the unfortunate thing about Grim. Now that we are in the build, you're going to see that later on when we start talking about what cards to get rid of and when. It's tricky because just with his affinities, it makes him really hard to get the appropriate amounts of crit or of attack speed at the time with the equipment. It's tricky. So the Mac Cannon, just because he hits like a freaking truck at the in the late game, it's insane. Start with the Archmagus because you want to preferably force the enemy on their back foot when you have Orb Prime sieging an objective. This just helps with that siege objectives. You start off the game with we have 3 strike tokens in here because later on you'll see he has free equipment slots, interestingly enough, which is very rare on carries and on heroes in general. So we have 3 strike tokens. You can choose to go for 3 strike tokens if your support has a circlet of health, but I would definitely recommend on Grim especially the strike token and the healer token, as his mobility is poop. His mobility is poop. What you want instead is, yeah, that strike token and healer token. After the strike token and healer token, you want to go into this Sage's Ward. I played around with the Assassin's Ward, and yes, while it does give you 4 CP of value right off the bat, 2 CP is basically completely worthless in the math department. Penetration, you don't deal enough base damage to warrant penetration at this point. It's going to be a DPS decrease. And lifesteal, you don't do enough damage to gain any reasonable benefit from that 2.5%. So it's not worth it. I would much rather go into the Sage's Ward where I get irrelevant stats, a little bit of health in the early game. It scales very well, being only 50 with such a low base health, plus that power, which you just need. Well, as you saw in the math department, Grim really loves that power. Because he gains attack speed per hero level, you don't really need it. So that power is just, that astronomically makes him super relevant. So the Sage's Ward is the most sound option in my opinion. You could maybe go with the Mage's Ward for some mana, because he does have a little bit of mana issues if you're, really hard pressed in lane and you're getting a lot of pressure. But the Sage's Ward, man, just the Sage's Ward. After the Sage's Ward, you have an option. If you're again really getting hard pressed, go into the Blink Charm. Blink Charm is basically mandatory on Grim, if you ask me, unless you have an absolutely amazing support, like an amazing Richter player that can really body block for you, pull them away from you, slow them so that you can get away. Like, Richter has so many good options. Unless you have something like that and you can get away with it, then you cannot get the Blink Charm, but basically Blink Charm is mandatory on Grim, if you ask me. After that Blink Charm, you can go into this Windcarver Blade with all power upgrades in it, because again, you don't need that attack speed. Remember, you don't need that attack speed till later on. After this Windcarver Blade, you go into this Windcarver Blade with a little bit of kinetic. At that point, it's going to be a little bit more sound, as, you have a lot of power, so you might as well increase how often you were hitting at this point. After this Windcarver Blade, you go into your first little bit of crit. Yes, crit this early, just because that is how the math. Grim really loves crit, so you want to get into it as soon as freakingly possible. You go into this Spear of the Rift Hunter, which gives you 12, 16, 20% crit chance, which is just barely enough, in my opinion, to, after this Spear of the Rift Hunter, go into your Blade of Agora. Why so soon? Simply because if you go into another 6-point card, which is what I used to do with this deck, it's just such a long time before that crit really kicks in, and because Grim has low power scaling, you really want that crit to increase. You want that crit to give you 250% more damage, right? Why wouldn't you want it? In the math, he doesn't hit as hard because of the 0.92 power scaling, so you need that crit to come into effect. If you go into another 6-point card instead of this Blade of Agora, it delays that power spike of the 100% crit bonus too far, in my opinion. It feels really bad. It feels terrible. You're sitting at 36 CP and you're like, I'm still hitting like a wet noodle. So that's my experience. Hopefully you guys, I don't know, take my word for it, or hopefully you guys have found that as well. Again, Grim scales really well in the very, very, very late game. So you're just trying to get there, trying to be as powerful as possible along the way. So after the Spear of the Rift Hunter, yes, you go into this Blade of Agora. Yes, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards. So your 5th card is a 9-point card. It's not your 7th. It's not, so it feels a little bad, but what can help you with this Blade of Agora, what can help you get it, is actually at this point you could get rid of your Sage's Ward and replace it with this Assassin's Ward. You don't get the upgrades until the very, very last thing, or as you need it. So this could help you, kind of unlock three of that CP to only go, so that you only need 6 to get this Blade of Agora, so you can get the full 9, stuff like that. You can replace the Sage's Ward with this Assassin's Ward to help you get this Blade of Agora. After this Blade of Agora, then it's a relatively long grind to get the Spear of the Rift Hunter. It's a 15 CP cost card with his affinities. It's really kind of the only way to get this amount of crit with just all the other stuff. So yes, this part hurts, but you got the Blade of Agora. You're critting every 5th hit. You're just trying to farm. Your team is playing to the fact that you're a very late game carry, so that they're playing defensive. They're allowing you to farm, stuff like that. It just takes some more strategy, which is very much sound in any video game, right? You get the Spear of the Rift Hunter, then you are critting like a beast, very reliably, 80% of the time. After this, you go into probably some drain. You probably want this lifesteal here, the focus drain on this. Get this focus drain to help you again to sustain on the battlefield, enable you to farm a little bit more. You can get this focus drain while you're getting the Spear of the Rift Hunter. Whenever you need that focus drain, get it. After this focus drain, go into this Wind Carver Blade here. You want this Wind Carver Blade, although as you're upgrading this Wind Carver Blade, get this Dire Pierce and this Major Cast, because you need that damage in order to warrant that attack speed. Remember that he doesn't really need that much attack speed, right? He needs it very, very late game. So as you're upgrading this Wind Carver Blade, get the upgrades here. Get the Major Cast first, and then the Dire Pierce as you're upgrading this Wind Carver Blade, and then you're done. Really strange. Just because you want to hit your power level relatively early, you want your crit earlier, you don't necessarily need all those 6-point cards. Grim is really weird, and I think I've just come to the conclusion that he's just a weird guy. He's a weird carry, and to play him that way just takes time. It takes your team kind of just keeping you safe, keeping you farming, so that in the late game you can just kind of completely annihilate with 744 DPS. Ugh. Final build here is this Assassin's Ward, Spear of the Rift Hunter, this Wind Carver Blade, and this Blade of Agora. And this Wind Carver Blade. I had a brain fart here. My notes are a little bit weird, and what I did was I optimized it just a bit. from the little discrepancy here in my notes. I actually optimize it just a bit. This whirling wand here, I changed it from a wind covered blade to a whirling wand with two major kinetics and one major cast. Basically, I got one less attack speed than we did before and one more power. So what this does is make that transition a little bit easier, so that after you get the Spear of the Rift Hunter, you can go into this whirling wand at this point, get the cast first, then the major kinetic, or the kinetic first, depending if you replace this wind cover blade or this. But you should be replacing this wind cover blade, as you are keeping this one. So you can get the major kinetic first, major cast first, depends on how much attack speed you have. You should, I think you should get the major kinetic first, then the major cast, get this major cast, get this major kinetic, finish it off with some dire pierce in there. Sorry about that. I just noticed that discrepancy as I was kind of counting the final build. Assassin's Ward, Spear of the Rift Hunter, Spear of the Rift Hunter, Whirling Wand, this wind covered blade with all of the power, and this Blade of Agora. So here in the early game, you have some options of what to get. Depending on who you are laning against, you can get a variety of things. If you are, for example, here with this Greystone, you definitely need to get your Q, your Displacement Blast. What your Displacement Blast does is, yes, deal some damage, but also displaces enemies away from the central impact point. So what you can do is when this Greystone, for example, leaps onto us, we can simply use our Q, aim pretty much straight down, and then we can just click, boom, and Greystone is shot away from us. That is probably the best option here to get against this Greystone, followed by our E. Our E is our suppression mode that gives us a slow whenever we hit with it applied on our basic attack. As you can see there was a good gank here by the Grux, who interestingly enough missed his Smash and Grab. Now the thing about your right click, your shield, is that it's excellent for mitigating those things there. A Sevrog Root, a Klong Sword, a Grux Smash and Grab. You can use your right click to apply that shield, and then not get rooted, not get stuff, etc., etc. I unfortunately don't finish off this Greystone, which I definitely should have. Should I have? Oh boy! Oh, should I? No, that was very unfortunate that I couldn't get that Greystone, as that would have been very nice indeed. So there you go. There was a showcase of the Displacement Blast right at the beginning of that gank to knock the Greystone and that Grux away from me, which definitely would have. I think that is what saved me. What saved me from his Smash and Grab, as his charge didn't take him far enough to then make that Smash and Grab work. Now, in this game, we happened to relieve our Greystone here in the off lane simply because we still had our tier 1 tower, and go a duo with this Decker and Murdoch. Now, we have our ultimate here as we are level 5, and it's pretty interesting. As we mentioned before, it is our locked on ranged ability that you lock on the target only when they are in vision range, only when you can see them yourself, and then you can lock on, and then you can use it. So got a fantastic couple kills there against the 4 of the enemy team here that was trying to come in. As you can see, I'm playing it safe, sitting on the back line, trying to just pick them off. I'm only using my E, as you can saw there, with the Greystone, after he had used his ultimate, so I could slow him, so we could finish the kill. Only really using your E to slow down the enemy, secure the kills, make sure you can get those last couple hits on them. Your Q, you are more than capable of using your Displacement Blast to hit them into a good area. As you can see, there is a fantastic example of using your ultimate to finish off your enemy. Grim has really surprising capability of of basically going dueling somebody, getting them to, you know, a fairly low health, and surprisingly enough, come out of nowhere with a fantastic ultimate that you know, that wins you the fight. There, as you can see, I just barely managed to get out of the tower as we get a double kill underneath the tower there. So playing it pretty risky here. We have a 3-person push there on the enemy's safe lane. Very, very well done here by my friendly team. Now, I want you to see something here. Miss, 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 hit. Yes, I know I'm not the best player on the planet, but Grim has some funky basic attack thing going on. There you saw I was trying to slow down the Grim and then use my displacement best to hit him in a good light. I was trying to just kind of oh, and there's the Murdoch basically giving me that kill there. What I was trying to do there was intimidate the Murdoch away from my Fae, and fortunately enough, it kind of actually worked. I wanted to just kind of burst him down and go, hey, you're not committing to this too much, and that was an okay use, as maybe I could have arguably killed this Decker instead, but then maybe I wouldn't have killed that Murdoch. So as you can see, it's a toss-up. There's multiple uses for your ultimate. It is on a slower cooldown, so you can choose when to use it. There, I was like, this is really kind of a defining moment here in this lane. If they win this this 2-person fight, then they get the tower. So I'm going to use it. Be smart with it. But again, it is on a fairly short cooldown. Now against this Decker, and especially this Murdoch, who has some pretty good burst with his shred and then of course all of his basic attacks, I am just waiting. I'm waiting for that stun for my right click. There you can see the shield there, and of course the Decker just baits me with holding up her stun. He just kind of baits me to use it. I don't use it immediately, actually. If you go back there, you'll see that I kind of actually wait her out a little bit. Here, I don't think this engagement goes too well. I think I position a little too aggressively here, and then I do get taken out. I don't have my ultimate, as you can see, and I'm not using my E as I thought we could finish off that Grace Stone. We certainly do. I did land a good Q on that Decker to make her jump in our direction. Here I land my ultimate as well to finish off the Gideon, and then I'm like, oh, why am I dueling this full health, full mana Murdoch when I'm only half health? Get out of there. There's a great showcase of Grim. Really, I mean, any carry would have done excellently there, simply because all of our teammates there were really, really controlling the enemy, putting pressure on them, and just basically allowing me to do my thing. But that is the great thing about Grim. When you work around Grim and let him do his thing, he adds so much utility. He can knock somebody into a positive way, just like I did just there with that Murdoch. I thought our team was going to be able to get the kill there, because if I could hit him forward, the Fae might have a slow into the Gadget Alt or Gadget Mine into her slow. Fortunately, I do. The Greystone does a fantastic job there, taking us out. And as you can see, there's tons of utility and team possibilities that Grim brings as having your ranged carry. Here is a moment where having Twitch reflexes on a Grim kind of doesn't really pay off exactly how I wanted it to. I used it too early, believe it or not, and I just end up dying. I used it too early, and unfortunately, the Gideon Rock hits me. I was maybe anticipating it a little bit much, but if you master Grim, not literally, but more metaphorically speaking, guys, his potential is far greater than a lot of the other carries as well. Yin being, I think, the slightly more so than Grim. I think Grim has one of the highest skill caps in the game, but I think Yin takes that to just another level. She has, while only one of her abilities is super clutch, obviously her knockback here. Grim, all of his abilities are super clutch, maybe beside his ultimate. So I think, guys, if you can master Grim, he can be an absolute beast. Here is a great example of going into a, let me just pause it here for a moment, going into a Rift Mage's Scepter, which is no longer in this build, not getting a Blink Charm, and this is the results here. I do a fairly good job staying with my Rampage here, but my team chooses, well, actually, I'm just way overextended as I'm trying to get back, and I take him out. Grim, you need that Blink Charm. Grim, you need to play it safe. 110%. Be very, very cautious. I arguably maybe even shouldn't be here. I should maybe just be farming. But as you can see, I'm just a slow walking, just gigantic hitbox. And I overextend here to the middle of the map for some reason, instead of staying back with maybe my gadget, like sticking with her, letting her maybe use her slow to help me, use her speed gate to help me. She's kind of a pseudo support. So as you can see here, I start off, but then I jump down into the river, which I kind of felt like immediately was a bad decision. I'm like, Grim, or this Gideon stopped hitting my Rampage, and I'm like, oh crap. Totally overextended. Don't. Grim plays safe. He capitalizes on your friendly teammates' good plays, and then once your teammates are, kind of rally around you, enable you to do your thing, then Grim can really shine. Here's a great showcase of the utility that Grim can bring. There's some slows into a knockback that didn't really happen the best way, but if I had landed another basic attack, he would have been dead. So that is just a small tiny little glimpse of the power of Grim being able to provide another level of utility on top of his damage. Now, the damage only comes into the way late game, but at least that shows a little bit of a potential there of, if that was 60 CP, that would have gone very different. Here's another example of staying behind, securing a kill, and then not having a Blink Charm. As you can see, I'm using Teleblink, and my team not necessarily protecting me getting overextended. I choose to jump down into the river, get taken out after we take out that Greystone there, and then I don't have that Blink Charm, which I should have, instead of this Teleblink, so that I could have easily gotten out of there. So there's the knock back into the Greystone, and then when this Grex came out, I could have just gone way up there, and this would have been a completely different story. So if I had gotten up there with that Blink Charm, as you can see, the rest of my team had rallied. I would have stayed nice by this gadget here. That Murdoch would have gone down tremendously quicker there. We could have went over here and helped our Greystone. His ultimate would have been better. And as you can see, that just would have went so differently. That Blink Charm, again, I'm just going to pound this drum because it's basically mandatory on people like Sparrow and Grim. So by this time, I've kind of learned my lesson, and I'm like, I gotta play it super safe. I noticed the Greystone coming in from behind, and I'm just like, nope, I'm going to stay safe. So I'm just kind of sitting here. I lock onto my ultimate, but I lock onto the wrong person. And unfortunately, that Murdoch does get away. Here, I'm going to choose to be safe. And instead of stay in that engagement, I'm going to kind of go back to base and try to help out this Fae and see if we can get this Greystone to proc his ultimate and I can secure a kill. Again, I'm just dumb, and I try to slow down the Greystone. Here comes the gadget, and I think we do end up killing him. Yes, we do, and just playing it safe, getting those kills. Cutting back, but there you go. That was the showcase of trying to be a little bit safe with Grim. Again, in this dumb build here, we have the Teleblink. The Blink Charm would have been so much better. And really playing it safe. Once again, another reason why you want your Blink Charm and to play it safe. We are pushing up quite nicely on this on this inhibitor, but then the enemy team totally turns it around, and we get kind of completely clobbered. Again, Blink Charm there instead of this dumb Teleblink would have helped tremendously. maybe securing the kill on that Gideon would have really helped. But the enemy team does a fantastic job coming in right from behind here, and we don't focus that Grux. We just kind of get completely taken out. My deflector shield, I use that there to kind of get out of the edge of the Gideon's ultimate. But unfortunately, if you just stay in his ultimate for a little bit, then it gets reapplied. Again, Teleblink, playing it safe is so important on Grim. Here we are trying to contest the Orb Prime, and it kind of goes in our favor here. I'm like, I'm gonna play it safe, and I'm just kind of, I'm gonna try to get away from this Greystone here. The Gideon here used his, but I actually lock onto him, but then the Grux that was right in my face totally eats it and dies. And then look at that suppression mode, go to town on this Greystone, keep him from getting onto me. Plus, I use my Q to push him away, and it ends up working really well. I don't fall for his leaping shenanigans here, and I do end up securing the kill here on this Greystone. Little bit of a showcase of playing it safe with him, using your Q to hit that Greystone away, your E to slow people, your ultimate to finish people off. Again, that utility with Grim is really, really valuable if you can play it, if you can pull it off. Here we are taking out the inhibitor, but the Grux come in again with a fantastic thing. I totally read a smash and grab here with my shield to knock it off. Then I'm like, oh, I'm gonna turn around, lock onto this Grux, but watch this Decker take me out. The instant that I'm about to use for my GTFO to actually work here, we're gonna slow this down just to see this, because watch, I'm charging it up, and look at this Decker, boom! Almost am able to get off my ultimate. I would have finished him off there and at least secured some kind of a kill here as we push this inhibitor. So tiny showcase there of the shield mitigating a smash and grab that I knew definitely would have been the end of me there. And here we are ending the game. Yes, we are able to rally at 60 CP here. I was just too much for the enemy team to handle, as now my DPS was through the roof. So guys, some takeaways here from some takeaways here from this is that if you can make Grim, you know, able to do his thing, if you can perform with him, I think, you know, he is incredibly powerful. Incredibly powerful. I personally am absolutely terrified of Master Grims, because, you know, they know exactly what you're gonna do, exactly when to use their shields, that their displacement blasts are on point to get you out of position just enough for them to kill you. You know, or they can duel you just to the point where they know their ultimate's gonna finish you off, and then boom, you're dead. He is very, very powerful. Yes, it does take a certain type of team composition to make him work. One that lasts to the late game. One that can support him well enough to just kind of make him do his thing. Yeah, it does take something, but you know what? That's good. Providing that choice, providing that option, providing the skill cap that I think Grim has tremendously high level of is a good thing. It really is a good thing. So hope you guys enjoyed this, as you know what, Grim, in my opinion, is pretty underrated. So please like the video if you like it, dislike it, share it with the community. Of course, guys, subscribe. If you guys like this content, especially if you found it useful, please subscribe so I can do it for you in the future. Till next time, like always, stay optimistic and positive.